Yo, Mitch, hope you're doing well, man. Kind of just getting my day started here. I had a weird morning. I made a sale on Facebook Marketplace, but the guy wanted to come at like 8 in the morning. So, I don't know, my day kind of got flopped around. Usually at that point, I'm like showering, getting ready for the day, but I had to like coordinate, meet up with him, and now I'm getting my day started a little later. But it was nice to make some money at the start of the day. It wasn't bad. You know what's so weird is our closet last night fell, like, imploded. Like the whole shelving unit and like hanging rack that we had. I guess we had too much weight on it. It all imploded. So that's another thing today. It's going to be about redoing the wardrobe. Like, my girlfriend and I have our closet really organized as well, but we were just hanging too much stuff, and in the middle of the night, it collapsed after 7 years of living in our apartment. So random. So that's another thing I gotta do today. I don't mind though, I'm stoked to reorganize the wardrobe. It's gonna be sick. Would you say that you have a positive outlook on life? Yeah, I think I do, Mitch. Um, I really try to, and generally it comes pretty easily to me. I see things fairly optimistically. Um, I really like skateboarding and BMX because of that. It really teaches you how to be resilient and like make the most out of nothing. It taught me that. I give that lesson up to skateboarding and BMX. Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, I genuinely do. I'm really lucky um, in most things. Like I'm really privileged and lucky and loved. I have a good family. I'm an only child, but my parents, they really support me, so that's a big one. But generally, I think like being in the streets and having to deal with shit all the time, but kind of making it an enjoyable thing does really put things into perspective. Like, I'm out all day riding in the rain, so it's easy for me to kind of be in a good mood when I'm home dry, or when I don't know, once I put my work in. I get very lethargic and unmotivated when I don't go do the things I need to do. If I procrastinate or I neglect my responsibilities, that's when I get a little depressed. I've had very traumatic experiences in my life, but generally the silver lining has like gotten me through. So, but I appreciate that, man. I do try to be uplifting. And it's not always easy, but like I said, I'm fairly lucky in that regard. And I did go through a stage in my life that I call nihilism. I did go through a stage where I hated everything. Hated relationships, hated money, hated the system, hated school, loathed my parents. There was definitely that rebellious time in my life. But I think that once I got through it, it really shaped who I am. That isn't me, I'm not a down person. I usually am very uplifting and optimistic. So you just gotta learn how to be. Sometimes, when you're an uplifting person, you get cut down by the world. Like, often I was sort of bullied as a kid because I was very opinionated and confident and silly, and not really self-aware. And so I was cut down a lot, my ideas, my expressions of self. So you do have to learn to tone it in a bit, but I think overall I'm quite content, my own sort of being, trying to be who I am. I don't need other people's approval. But you do need some resilience if you're like that, because it's often that you get cut down. People don't really like hearing your opinion all the time. They don't really want It's not always good to be optimistic. There is room, gotta read the room sometimes. So all in good time and practice. But I do have to remind myself, like over the last year, I'd say I've made a really solid effort to practice humor, practice searching for comedy. It's like a hard one for me. Um, I have a good sense of humor, but sometimes I am too serious sometimes, you know? And I think that practicing finding the humor, practicing being a little more lighthearted over the last year has been really, really productive. Like I'm catch myself going into like the serious tangents faster, and I'm able to pull myself out of them faster and make a joke out of the situation, not in a way that sweeps like an actual problem under the rug, but just in an unnecessary situation, right? When I don't need to be serious, got to remind yourself, take yourself a little less seriously. But again, that's a practice for me because I'm super sensitive. Like I do take things seriously. I do take things to heart, and I do often express myself really genuinely and then expect people to like honor that or notice that, but that's not always the case. So you've got to it's a dance, isn't it? You've got to kind of let people have give people grace to sort of judge you, and just don't take yourself too seriously. It's good to recognize your vulnerability and sensitivity. I didn't always, and I still do struggle with it. My partner my partner is a really good person for that. They're really good at, like, I don't know, embracing that. Can inform the difference between genuine reliance and walls. Exactly, putting walls up. Yeah, genuine relationships. Absolutely. That's what I mean about my partner. Like, oh, genuine resilience. Yes, yes. Logic is the laws of reason. I like that heritage. I like to I like to study the laws of reason because I think that they're connected to our sanity, right? I think that if we know how to reason about things, then, well, I think that does go mostly hand in hand with things like emotional stability. So it's interesting to me how, like, these laws of logic, laws of reason, seem to correlate somehow with emotional stability. Now, I might be projecting a bit there, but I think there's something to that. And I think that most people kind of miss this nuance that logic isn't about necessarily removing your emotions. It kind of goes back to what I was saying here with Mitch in the comments. It's like, it's almost like being, in a way, tapped into your emotions, or like more empathetic, more understanding, right? More able to relate to an opposing idea. Exactly. The Stoics applied logic and reason towards their ability to keep a steady mental state. Yes, that's it. And it interests me that it doesn't always have to be a steady mental state, right? It doesn't always have to be as a result of like certainty. We like to think that logic and reason gets us to the truth. And I love the truth, but it's hard to operate in those moments when you don't know the truth. And I think logic still applies. Logic still applies even in the times you don't know the truth and you don't have the exact conclusion, because it's not just a method to get us to the conclusion, it's also a method for emotional stability. So I think there's two components there. Yes, we need to get to the truth. Yes, we have to find, right, the conclusion we're looking for, but really there's this other like modality, which is our emotional stability. I take logic to generally refer to some method and rules of systems. Yeah, some system of validity, right? Some system of verification, falsifiability, something like that. And in philosophy, mathematics, logic will be this definition. Yes. And I like what you said, like the method. Like the word method really interests me a lot because that's where I focus on apply to qualitative and quantitative reasoning. Yes, exactly. Exactly both. And when we see like the word method is so all encompassing, right? Because if I watch like a pro pitcher in baseball or like a pro fencer sword fighting, I can kind of see their method, but I don't really like they might not even really be able to fully explain their method, right? When it comes all the way down to like how they're coping emotionally, how they're so mentally stable, how they're able to so quickly react, right? All those things not necessarily are like a formalized method. It's almost like a result of the method. They incorporate this practice, right? They practice throwing the ball over and over again, but then eventually they hit this point of focus and muscle memory where they can just focus on the method, not the technique. Applying the technique is a little different than applying the method, right? Like you have to almost be able to throw the ball properly, you know how to pitch to then get to the methodology. If you don't have the technique, if you don't have the technical ability, then you're armchair philosophy. You're just kind of like, you're sideline coaching, talking about methodology without even having the technique at all. So there's something there. Um, the method is somewhat technical, but then there's this. It's like a meta technique. A method is almost like more than just a simple technique. It's the techniques of techniques, right? You're trying to categorize all these techniques, whether it be pitching, right? Think about all the different techniques of pitching. Fastball, curveball, right? You could throw to first base and try to like get the lead baseman out, right? There's so many plays you could do as a pitcher. So now, once you have all those techniques and you've practiced all the positions and all the possibilities, well, now you have to have a method to apply this technique. I would say most pro baseball pitchers probably have the same bag of pitches, right? Maybe a couple of them have a crazy, softball or something or change up, but for the most part, they can all kind of throw the ball. It's just about how they're going to do it, when they're going to choose, right, their bag of tricks. When do they pull up the changeup? When do they pull the fastball out? How well do they read the batter? How well can they control their emotions under pressure when they're in the playoffs and it's the last inning and they're down a point? All these things have way more to do with pitching than the actual technique of throwing the ball. And you could be a great ball thrower. That doesn't make you a great pitcher, right? Like there's like this whole, and I don't even like baseball, so I don't know why I'm using this metaphor at all. I don't even know a single thing about baseball. But yeah, there's something there about like the method and the technique being somewhat different. There's a nuance there. And I think the method has to relate to our emotional stability, right? There's this component of not only focus, because what are we doing when we're working? We're focusing. And we have to focus not only on the technique itself, but also our emotions. As we get frustrated, as we get impatient, tired, lazy, we have to notice that in ourselves and self correct in order to keep performing the technique, right? Or maybe take a break, or maybe we need to practice a new technique, right? Maybe the current technique's inefficient, so there's a new learning stage that we need to go through. And all of these self reflective aspects I think relate to like the rational method, right? We can rationalize the technique down to perfection, but rationalizing our own method becomes a little more tricky. It's a little more tricky. So I struggle to apply logic, I guess. It's like, what is logic? Well, it's a method, right? It's a method for some sort of validity and verification. But like, how do you use it all the time? Like, for instance, when I'm really frustrated, I struggle to use it. This seems perplexing. It's so simple. Use logic, right? Think rationally. But why is it that my human nature sometimes prevents me? Why do I get lost in these, tangents of non-rationality? It's very interesting that it seems as though even when I understand what it is to think rationally, I don't have the full method of application. I seem to lose it sometimes. Like a skater who is good at skating, but I fall every once in a while, right? It's like it's hard to really pinpoint. I guess there is no perfect method. There's this element of embracing the fall, embracing your ignorance, your vulnerability. Like, I feel like that is ultimately the method, kind of. It's like there's this spiritual component to logic which demands humility, at least. I don't know if you want to call humility a spiritual component, but like I see the spirit of humility to be just that. I don't think it's simply a personality trait or simply, someone's lack of confidence, or it's just like a social norm. I think humility is like a spiritual thing. To truly embody humility takes a level-headedness that is beyond, I guess, the substance of the argument, right? Beyond the context, beyond what the person's assumptions are. Like humility is this next level of appreciation for the other, for your opposition. Something beyond proving yourself right and more towards an appreciation for a fellow human being, appreciation for the humanity of disagreements and contradictions and confusion and communication, all these things. It's like embracing that, seeing the limit there and embodying it rather than being frustrated by it. Good to see you in here, Bart. How are you doing today, G? Thanks for the likes, man. I'm rambling a bit to myself now. Um, Mitch, I don't know if you're still in here, but I very much see you as a very positive person as well. I haven't even picked up on one really pessimistic idea you've had. Almost everything I've contemplated that you've considered is, or that you've communicated has been optimistic. I think it's rare to find that on this app. Yeah, man, you're very uplifting and positive. Um, I almost well, I've never gotten negative vibes from you. It's always been motivating and uplifting, and I see that you're on the path of education. You love education. You love learning. You're so curious about everything, and that youthful exuberance, man, is unmatched, right? Like when you find your community of people like that, you find your home because it's rare. It's rare to find people that could stay up all night talking about anything. Yeah, I really mean it, bro. I really mean it. I feel like you could contemplate really with and sit down, have a tea with anyone, if you really wanted to. I think you could. You could really talk about anything for hours. And I also think you'd be a great person to have a disagreement with. I think that if you and I had a genuine disagreement, we'd sort it out, and we would compromise and get to the best solution really fast. I don't think we would have any problem delegating our differences. And yeah, I thank you for that as well, man, because it's rare. It's rare, right? It's rare to be in the position where you don't always have to just shut your mouth and be agreeable, where you can actually sort out your differences, speak your mind, and be loved for that difference of opinion. It's not often, and I think that I don't blame people for being short-sighted and quick to judge. I really don't. I feel bad for someone. This kind of taps back to the rational thing. It's like I feel bad for people who are impatient with those who disagree with them, because it seems to me that they haven't utilized this method of comparing opposing opinions, considering the other, right? Tolerance, patience, those kinds of things, empathy. They're a skill set, bro. They're a skill set, and not everyone has it, right? Like, I genuinely believe that. I don't judge or hate people when they don't have these skills, because it took me a long time to practice and learn to even get where I'm at as well. And I know I'm not perfect and it's not easy, etc. So whenever I find anyone that can, delegate disagreement, it's like a really rare, and it stands out like a gem. It stands out like a needle in a haystack because it's so rare and it's so obvious when you can. You're hidden in there, but it's obvious, right? Like when a person has resilience of mind, anti-fragility. And I've learned to not tiptoe around people who are fragile because that enables them. But I've just learned to control my own emotions. So there's two ways to handle someone who is fragile, right? And we are all fragile to our certain degrees. So I see this in myself. I have to handle myself in a certain way around fragile topics. And it comes from, I don't want to enable myself or enable another person, but I also don't want to press them or make them feel judged. I just want to basically accept them, right? And then try to stabilize my own emotions so that I can empathize with them. I often have heard this idea of I'm so empathetic that other people's emotions affect me negatively, and then that makes me question. It's does that really make you empathetic, right? If you are negatively affected by other people all the time, then you have no energy left to be empathetic. You're willing to take a risk and understand those who react adversely. Exactly. And then in the moment where they give you pushback, if you are ready for that pushback, if you're putting forward your ideas in a way that's willing to be criticized, you should be more resilient. Your mind will be anticipating pushback. I think a lot of, in the spirit of curiosity, conversation, connection, I appreciate it. No doubt, Mitch. I appreciate it too, dog. And yeah, I think that for the most part, this temptation to resist opposition is actually the frustrating component to our psychology. That's what I've noticed. The more resistant I am to criticism, ironically, the more fragile my thinking becomes. Yeah, what's up, Shark? How you doing, bro? New dad over here. How you doing, bro?
You or me?
You.
Oh, what's up, man? I'm miraculous, brother. I'm better than I deserve.
Oh man, I can't imagine. You must be endorphins. You and your wife must just be in a whole state of endorphins.
Brother, this philosophy thing and life, I don't know, man. Clearly, I'm the same person, but I'm not the same person.
I can't imagine. I really don't know what you mean.
Brother,
I wish I did.
You know what's crazy? I'm living it, and I can't imagine it.
Yeah, it's surreal, kind of.
Yeah, it's this entire experience because not only am I experiencing it, but I'm analyzing it with the spirit of curiosity. And that's what Mitch said, the spirit, those three words in tandem, they made me feel something. And I thought about what if people just defined God as the spirit of curiosity?
Yeah. I mean, in a lot of ways, I do basically do that. It's interesting because I don't want to tie it to simply that, but yeah, the spirit of humility, curiosity. There's a lot of ones you could
exactly.
list.
No, the spirit, these things as a spiritual or symbolic representation being real. And if you don't have the spirit of, essentially, God would be the spirit of truth, right? And then we would have subcategories like humility, patience, curiosity, kindness. And then we question, are these things actually real? Or are they merely just societal constructs? And I think for people like me and you, we go, no, these things actually exist.
Not only do they exist, they're not necessarily part of me because I don't always inhabit the spirit of curiosity. So it's not me. I'm not the spirit of curiosity. Sometimes I inhabit it, but sometimes I don't. It seems to be that the spirit of curiosity is just out there, and I tap into it more often or less often, right, than not.
Right.
Very interesting.
But then the question is that spirit real? And then it's yeah, you're almost, because I almost feel like you're required to believe in spirits at that point, because beyond that, what is curiosity? Just it would, For the other
Yes.
people, it would just be like a state of mind, right?
And dude, the method to tap into it would be different. So when I speak about a method, it's like I am trying to tap into the spirit of curiosity, and I need a method for that. If it's just a state of mind, oh, I just get my rest and I eat some good food. There doesn't seem to be a direct method. It's like no. There seems to be an actual direct method to tap into these spiritual, like these spirits, basically. Like you have to be of a certain mindset. It is a psychological method. It's not one of like physicality and
Would
materialism.
would you agree that it's a submission?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Because you're submitting, like when I'm
Yeah.
talking about like philosophical concepts, the one that I hate more than all of them, or like want to get away from, is anti-realism.
Yes.
Because it's just feelings, it's just opinions, it's just perception, it's just desire, it's just urges. That's what it comes down to. And I think that when an individual, if sincerely pursuing God, the submission is to that. It's submitting to your desires. It's submitting to your feelings for something greater than that, something beyond that, an experience when you truly submit to the best of your ability.
If you don't submit, you will suffer.
If you don't submit, you will suffer to your own ego. Yes, to your own.
So this word submission is interesting, isn't it? Because what are we submitting to? We're not submitting to ourselves, and therefore we're suffering. It's very interesting.
Repeat that again.
Well, like it seems to be cognitive dissonance when we aren't submitting. We want to say submit. That's a good word. But what are we submitting to? Okay, it's this greater power, the spirit of truth, the spirit of love. The problem is we have that in us, and we won't, until we see it, we suffer. So what are we submitting to? It's in ourselves. We have to submit to ourselves, right? It's this dissonance problem. It's like one moment we see it clearly, and the next moment we just neglect it and move right on into our instincts.
I would say that there's like, if you're an anti-realist, then you're submitting to yourself, right? And yourself is just going to be the chemicals, reactions. It's just going to be your feelings and desires, especially short term. But to submit to the spirit of truth, it is a sacrifice of those urges and those desires, and then saying, okay, if I don't act on these things, what happens? If I'm actually prioritizing a rational system and trusting in something greater than myself, then I'm obligated to not act. I'm obligated to not just do what's in my own convenience, because that's what it is, right? Would you say anti-realism is just convenience?
Yeah, and it would be also I would say it's like dissonance. It's this form of dissonance, because when we say, like, let's say I agree with you, right? Because the spirit of curiosity is not me. So I'm not submitting to, I get what you're saying. I'm not fully submitting to necessarily myself, but in the suffering sense, right? If it's true that I'm going to suffer less, then in the end, it is a submission to both the spirit of truth and love would also be of self. So it's like it's fooling yourself. It's fooling yourself. What an anti-realist does is they fool themselves. Right? They fool themselves into thinking that somehow the suffering is worth pursuing.
It's just so fascinating, man.
Yeah, and it's also, I would say it's so fascinating, bro. It's also somewhat like it is educational. There's something to do with like if you can actually reflect and think cognitively, like there's critical thinking involved. That is, I think, the key, right? The separation of self. Like, what is it to be involved in the spirit of curiosity? It's to open oneself up. Myself is no longer bounded by these restrictions. I'm opening myself up to other interpretations. So myself becomes expansive rather than like limiting.
Confined.
Right.
Your ego confines you.
Yes, rather than opening up to potential pushback or the criticism of others, that humility, the spirit of humility.
You're either a slave to the flesh or you're a slave of the spirit.
Yes.
I don't think there's
Yes.
a third option. And Mitch says it depends on anti-realism. I'm talking about like moral anti-realism. What the pattern that I've learned is I struggle severely talking to moral anti-realists. Like I was just talking to someone earlier, and it was a good faith conversation, but the conversation came down to him saying anything and everything can be justified because everything is rational, right? Like he was literally saying like. Essaying a child or Schmittler could be
classic.
irrationally justified. And I'm like, hang on, there's a distinction between the ability to attempt to rationalize in comparison to something truly being rational.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
he could because he's an anti-realist, he couldn't get beyond, he could not see the symmetry breaker between these two concepts.
I can't help but try to illuminate the method. That's why I go to this word method, right? There's two different methods. Like obviously, like one is to rationalize, right? And the other is to actually you have to actually see what you are rationalizing. there's
Yeah, you have
two
to have you have to have a system. Like, and when I bring up, I don't know if you've looked into natural law theory.
a little bit since you brought it up a while ago. Yeah.
Dog, I'm in love with this thing, bro. It connects secularism with like spiritualism and morals being grounded through our nature without an is-ought fallacy, and it's remarkable. It is like the most difficult portion of it is convincing people we live in a teleological universe, because then they'll just say no, things don't have a purpose. The purpose is whatever the individual wants the purpose to be. But when you really analyze the inherent purpose inside of everything, fulfilling its primary telos, because you could have like a primary telos and a secondary telos, and my focus is on that primary telos, figuring out what our purpose actually is. And if we can do that and find a system of rationalization beyond just like subjective interpretations, what a species we could be.
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, these things are subconscious, and I think that telos it's kind of like the anthills thing. It's like whether or not someone is fully aware of their telos, it's gonna play out regardless, right? They're part of the purpose. They're playing their part, whether they think they are or not, which is kind of interesting.
But Mitch is bringing up error theorists, but Mitch, error theorists it's just like a self-refuting position, because if me and Logic believed that this conversation would directly lead to, I don't know, 10 children getting cancer, then we would probably question whether or not we should be having this conversation to begin with, right? And so when we're analyzing our actions, there's always going to be a baseline of, is this good or bad? If nothing is good or bad, right? If there is no truth maker regardless, and it's all wrong, then it literally doesn't matter what happens. And I think that the error theorists are actually worse than the relativists, because at least the relativists are saying, hey, well, this is my opinion of goodness. The error theorist is saying, no, goodness literally doesn't exist.
Yeah, so like the metaphor I was used for this one is the tape measure. Like a tape measure when we're measuring, we could use the imperial system or the metric system, right? But if we didn't presuppose the truth of length, then we would just be lost in the arbitrary nature of these systems. Like, is it really not any better to use the imperial versus metric system? Like, no, they're equivalent. But that's the important priority here, is that we are trying to measure length. If you don't believe in the truth of the length, if you don't presuppose that that's even a possible thing within some bounds to measure, all these metrics fall apart. There is no metric for length anymore.
Yeah, I think that a big problem is the amount of atheists who say like, oh, individuals are just presupposing God without understanding the necessity of presupposing truth. If you don't, and that's all God is,
Yes.
right? God is just truth with a capital T, right?
Faith in truth. That's another way of putting it.
Yeah,
you have to have some degree of faith towards that.
Right. Even Mitch, as a scientist, right? Like, super smart guy, seems to be really humble, right? He's pursuing truth. And if it's the case that truth with a capital T doesn't exist in some facet, Mitch's job is literally pointless, right? I think that Mitch's job is phenomenally useful. I think that what he does as a scientist will aid us for millions of years to come, truthfully, right? And it's required for all of us to say, hey, do you believe in truth with a capital T? And if an individual says no, me personally, no disrespect, I think that it would be unfair or disingenuous of me to continue a conversation with them, because I don't know if the conversation could even be productive at all unless they had a desire to just like understand my worldview. That's it.
You would at least have to you'd have to build some insulation for yourself if you are gonna, like, let's say they're your boss at work. So now you have to interact with the person. You're gonna have to have a certain method when you when you communicate with them that that is gonna like insulate you from triggers, insulate you from this temptation.
Oh yeah, no, I've already realized that when I'm talking to people, it needs to come down to two different things most of the time, right? There might be exceptions, but 99% of the time, it's going to come down to, do you want me to understand you or vice versa, right? It's either you want to understand me and my system, or I need to understand you and your system. Because if it's not one of those two things, then it's probably just like a pissing contest on social media for like rhetoric points.
Yes.
The goal.
Yes, dude. Yes.
Have you seen how many people talk about knowledge on this app?
Sure.
I don't know if I've brought this up to you.
Is it because of Cage? No, everyone in general that'll be a circling.
Right. Philosophically, the focus is knowledge, right? But if you ask these same people, and even yourself, how do you define understanding in a manner that is necessarily exclusive and not equivocating with knowledge, they can't do it.
Yes.
And I think that understanding is more important than knowledge.
Yes.
I think it's far more important. And the philosophers have completely undermined and overlooked understanding and have hyper-fixated on knowledge when knowledge probably is not accessible.
Yes, I would also say that the expansion of language depends on this juxtaposition of ideas. If you and I, so the two differentiators I use, if I've hit the point where I see someone like you is down to actually understand my point of view, and I'm also down to understand your point of view, well, now we can have a genuine disagreement. And that's where language evolves. If we were forced to agree, if I forced you to only say, I agree with everything that I said, that's sort of mimicking this idea of a person who only wants to be heard, who has no interest in hearing you. Well, exactly. The language, quite literally, would go nowhere, because I would be talking to myself. The terminology, when you get bogged down in semantics, peace, Mitch. I hope to talk to you soon, bro. The fascinating part with semantics is that we need an evolution in semantics. Our vocabulary evolving is the necessary component of language to evolve. And until we get to a disagreement with one another, we can't even begin to experiment with that evolution of language. Language can't evolve. We can't get anywhere with new sentences, new ideas, because we just have to agree. I agree.
The evolution of language is dope, bro.
Yeah, like I think it's a real thing. I think that's
have you seen these lives, specifically certain group of people who are the victim of their own reality and hate another group based on their skin color?
Yeah, every other live. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to join one of them because I don't join if there's like a panel or if I know the person is like that, but I didn't know this individual was like it. He just like the prompt was, why should I value the opinion of white people? And I went up and I was the most sincere that I could be, right? No rhetoric, nothing. I just told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm mixed. I am white passing, but it seems like when I'm around white people, I'm too black. And when I'm around black people, I'm too white. And I'm not really sure, why you should value the opinion of anybody less based on the color of their skin. But yeah. And he responded by mocking me and not taking me serious and just being a genuine racist piece of human garbage, right? And it was just like, I asked him, I was like, you want me to understand you, but you have no desire or ability to understand me at all. Is that reasonable for you? And then he just kicked me, and then somebody else joined and started talking about like white tears and just the most like modernly racist, openly racist stuff that you could do.
Well, look at how the echo chamber keeps their vernacular constrained. Like you just threw out a little slogan there, right? Like they're quite literally that victim mindset will resist their education because their vernacular, vocabulary, and understanding, then if you want to use knowledge, I guess, but understanding is probably a better term, is limited. Of quite literally limited to the echo chamber they exist in. Of course, the victim mindset is a component. It's a psychological like loop of the victim mindset, questioning the community and the echo chamber they're in and not being, and then this dissonance of just continuing down that loop, right? Without the evolution, like how much of your education is literally based on this. Okay, I don't know a word, I'm going to go look it up. Okay, this word now introduced a whole new set of ideas that I have to dive into.
They become, when I say words that people don't like know, they become offended at their own. They think they project their own insecurity of ignorance onto me, like it's my fault that I said a word they're not familiar with. And when I tell them, I go, listen, I don't intend to use language to be intentionally deceitful. I have no problem trying to use words and then like that are more palatable. But I'm assuming that I'm speaking to an adult right now. And when I say adult, you're an independent individual capable of articulating your ideas and expressing yourself in a reasonable, rational manner, right? And if you can't do that and you just get mad, what am I supposed to do about that?
It's so frustrating. It's like watching a painter paint who's mad at their own painting.
Well, that's very artistic. I just saw that in my head, right? And the more that they paint, the more that they hate their art. But the only reason they're mad is because they're painting and they're not aware they could stop painting. And then one more, they get mad at anybody who tell them they can stop painting.
I was just going to say that. A walker by is their first victim. They think they're the victim, right? They're constantly victimizing themselves to the painting, but the first observer is the real victim.
Yeah, somebody walks by and they go, that's an interesting piece of art. And they go, what the fuck are you looking at?
Yeah, dude. And that's everywhere, bro.
I'm looking at your art, buddy.
Oh, I know.
Could you imagine an artist? No, wait, it's deeper than that. It's an artist not only mad at their art, but they're mad at anybody who observes their art.
That's what really pisses them off. The misinterpretation, right? Because everyone misinterprets their art, but they don't have the humility and grace.
Including themselves.
Exactly, because that's the whole fun of art, is the grace it takes to be an artist is to laugh at yourself, and they can't do it.
You just gotta be like, yeah, my art's not for everyone. Maybe my art sucks, right? It's not my art is not for everybody, right? Maybe just maybe my art isn't for anybody besides myself. And can I be okay with that? And I think most people are not okay with their art being enough for themselves. And then they need.
Imagine some old grandma. Don't be sorry. Imagine some old grandma walking up and interpreting the art differently, but wanting to praise it, wanting to give a compliment so desperately, and cutting her off and telling her.
She's like, imagine a painter draws a picture of a boat, and an old elderly woman who struggles with her vision, she walks by and she says, "This is the greatest drawing of a dog I have ever seen. It has brought me to tears." And the individual says, "How dare you think that this is a dog? How dare you not see the boat? And it's a beautiful boat, by the way. It's perfect. Every pixel is flawless, right?" And they're like, "How dare you not see this as a boat?" That's what happens.
I know,
and that's the thing. It's not in that moment. For humans, it's not about knowledge. That's why so many people are angry. It's not about knowledge. It's about understanding. And if you have no interest,
it's not a dog. We all know that. It's about connecting with the grandma.
No. Even it's greater than that. It's not even a boat. It's a drawing. It's a painting of a boat. So for this artist to be so pompous, to say, "No, this is a boat." Oh, really? Can it float on water? Can I ride in it? What do you mean it's a boat? Right? And this is what happens when someone becomes so smug and arrogant with their art. It's so easy to criticize, even if it's perfect, because nothing is perfect, right? The only possible perfect thing would be God, if God exists. And I think people are so desperate to pretend that they're perfect.
Yeah, there's so much here, man. This is a really dense conversation. There's also this element of, you know, as okay, because we're saying the painting as a metaphor for talking, right? And communication. When I think about the Renaissance and art related to realism, right? This was an actual Renaissance period in art. The history of art includes a phase called realism, where the staunchness of artists were right, absolutely focused on capturing the truth, capturing reality. Not to mention that this went hand in hand with religious dogma. But in the end, the lessons we learned, right, to capture realism became very like empowering in our scientific and analytic tech, right? Our ability to use, for instance, what's it called? Perspective, right? Can 3 point perspective or 2 point perspective in art actually does allow us to interpret like a 3D space on a two-dimensional plane right down to mathematical accuracy. It's like this combination of math and science and art all in one expression of realism. And I would say that like it's very interesting to see how that culturally was detrimental, right? Culturally, that had no room for it. Came with a certain dogma. It came with a certain cultural renaissance that had to shift because science ultimately wasn't based in this dogmatic approach to the truth or realism. Even when we got so close, even when it does achieve, you know, what we would say is as close as we can get to something that's real, it still lacks the elegance and grace required.
Yeah. Hey, man, I love the conversation. I love you, man. I hope you stay blessed, man. I'm going to go continue my day.
God bless you, Shark. Have a wonderful day and kiss that baby for me.
God bless you, brother.
Okay, peace and love, dog. What a wonderful conversation. Made my day. Damn, the depth. Shark always blesses me with his mind. That was so wonderful. You know, I don't say God bless you enough. I need to start saying it more. And I've heard Shark say it, and I've heard a few other people in my life say it that I really value. Most of the time when I hear people say it, it's cringy. I have a hard time incorporating God bless you. Because when I hear it a lot of the time, I feel cringy. But, you know, there's a few people in my life that when they say it, it's really uplifting and dope. So I hope that I can start saying it in that way or embodying it in that way. It's not meant to be pretentious. It's meant to be really a genuine expression of like love and gratuity and humility. That was such a cool conversation. I would love anyone else in the comments if they're interested in carrying that on or talking about anything else. If you want to come up in the panel and have a discussion, I would love to. I thought it was really cool how we were talking about art and the expression of self and how people aren't humble enough to indulge in that that gift. You know, a lot of the times they're frustrated by their own expression of self, and it takes a level of humility to talk, to paint, to express yourself, because you have to have the grace to allow someone else to interpret your expressions if you really want to be like, I guess, an artist. I guess that was the metaphor we were using. You got to have fun. I think to become a good artist, you got to have fun while doing it. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. It's going to be a frustrating grind the whole way, right? You're going to hate the whole process. Same with talking to people or anything else in life. Your work, your family, your bills you got to pay, your health obligations, right? Take care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally. I also loved how we touched on the spirit of curiosity, the spirit of humility, and how these things don't seem to be entirely part of us. It seems as though, oh no, who was just requesting? I missed your request. Whoever was just requesting, request back up. The idea that, the spirit in us, you have to tap into it. It takes a certain method, I think, to get yourself out of your own ignorance and into the things like spirit of curiosity, spirit of love, spirit of truth. These things are not always in me, and I have to almost pray myself into them. I have to really meditate into that state of mind sometimes, especially when life is frustrating, right? Especially when I'm caught up in my own assumptions, or especially when I think I know what's true. That's the reddest flag there is, right? When I'm holding it as if I have it in my hands. That's blasphemy. That's when my emotions will take a hold. That's when I will be triggered. That's when I will be irrational, unempathetic, straight to the point, cutthroat, saying things like 100%, look it up, right? Look it up. It's all these claims of certainty that limit my own expression of self. And it's frustrating as hell. You have to be aware of these limitations. You have to see when you're doing this so that you can actually step back and express yourself from a third point perspective, or whatever, from an outside perspective, or from a greater perspective, right? You have to be open. You have to be open. You cannot resist or restrain yourself to your own assumptions if you really want to be satisfied in your own self-expression. Someone else come up and talk to me, and I'd like to talk about anything. What is logic, dude? It's one of the most fruitful, definitely this question has been one of the most fruitful questions I've ever asked in my life. Like, when I ask it patiently and I don't just bring it up in an antisocial way, which I've been known to do in the past, and I let the conversation flow towards it, it's very fruit-bearing, at least from my point of curiosity. It is fascinating to see everyone else's opinion on this logic thing, how they use it, especially how they use it, right? How they use it. Maybe I should put, how do you use logic? Maybe that is the better. I'm going to put that as the topic. How do you use logic? Like, what is the method, right? Let's assume we all know what it is. I don't think many people know how to use it, right? Yeah, I got someone. What up, though?
Right. Hey, what's up?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm just chilling. Just got out of another live, but yeah, dude, I like your topic.
Sick. What were you talking about in the other live?
Man, they were just going all over the place. They were talking about abstract objects, and they were trying to deny God, and they were also trying to argue against the Trinity, which I believe in personally.
Yes, the wandering minds of TikTok,
Yep.
all over the place.
Yeah.
What do you find fascinating about, I guess, logic?
So, I view logic in the sense that we have this ability to like rationalize and observe logic, right? Like, or to create these things, or not to create. We come to an understanding of things that are already there.
Okay. So, like, logic is the tool used to come to an understanding of the things that are already there. I like that.
Yeah. So, like, we rationalize, and from that we come to this view, right? of
Yeah, like a conclusion.
a view of conclusion and some type of object. We come to some type of objectivity through that, right?
So how do you tap into that method or that system? Like, do you have a trick, or do you have a, like, sometimes we get frustrated and we find ourselves making observations that aren't true because we're not using that objective standard to actually look and perceive the reality, right? We're making quick judgments or jumping to conclusions, basically. So how do we, as mere mortal humans, ignorant, right, and I don't know, not all knowledgeable, not omnipresent, how do we like, is there a system for the system? Like, do you have a way to, like, how do you use logic? How do you, like, am I asking a question that makes sense?
Yeah. So, like, how do I, like, see if something is logical?
Well,
Like a
guess I'm getting,
proposition or something?
not quite, because let's say we were both calm and we could sit down over a tea. We could easily look over some premises and see if they're valid and sound. But let's say you and I got into, like, an argument, and
Yeah.
it was over something really personal, and the conversation started degrading into irrationality because I was jumping to conclusions, making assumptions. You're jumping to conclusions, making an assumption. So I'm asking for sort of a quick method in those circumstances to remind ourselves of how to remain, like, is there a way to kind of, like, employ these rational methods in those circumstances, in intense disagreements and in emotional instability?
Yeah, I believe there's logical constructs that we've created, and they would be like in regards to analyzation, right? Like modus tollens, modus ponens.
Right. But okay,
Things like
this is, I suppose, what I'm getting at, bro. It almost seems like before we can get to inference rules and modus ponens, we have to sort of, like, humble ourselves. So there's this, like, it seems like my emotion. Okay, like, even the inference rules themselves, in their conditional nature, seem to suggest humility or falsifiability. So
Okay.
to employ modus tollens or modus ponens, it seems incumbent upon me to be something like calm. If I'm mad or I'm ungenuine, can I really leverage modus ponens?
So there needs so there's some type. So what you're saying is, and I haven't really heard about this. There's some type of, like, foundational emotive necessity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, required in the syntax. Very much
Wow.
so. Because I think for true interpretation, I have to be empathetic to my opposition. I have
Yeah.
to
I never
steel
even thought
man my
about this.
opposition.
This is
Oh,
awesome.
good. Awesome. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. Let me type this down. What
Well,
is,
one way to see it really clearly, to wrap it all together, to remind yourself, is like, and maybe you'll get some pushback here when you go experiment with these ideas with other people, but because I
yeah.
sure do. But when you look at modus ponens, it has the word if in front of it.
Yeah.
If P, then Q. We
Yes.
assert P, therefore Q. That's the full structure of the argument.
Mhm.
Well, that's the conditional part that I'm talking about. If P, then Q. What a humble statement. What a humble statement. It's not asserting A is true. It's not saying A, therefore B. It's saying, if we presuppose A, humbly, sir, can we then get to B? It's almost like, right, humoring a proposition, humoring a presupposition, highlighting my assumptions. Why would that make me angry? If I'm angry, what I'm doing is I'm dogmatically asserting my assumptions. That simple word if commands that when I put forward an argument to my lover in the middle of amidst a hot disagreement, I put forward my argument in a way that can be falsified and critiqued by her. I say, if I'm assuming this, then can we get to this? And might question my semantics. She might get to a different term, right? Because that's the whole that's the whole deductive method of modus ponens. It's like, well, if we can't get to P, we must keep circling around P until both parties are satisfied in a way that we can move to Q. And that's the wholehearted, genuine approach. It's like in the syntax of deductive reasoning, there's this humble, I think, humility implied. Look at the if in front of the conditionals. Now there's a thing called universal instantiation, which doesn't have direct conditional, but I would say my argument would be the conditional is implied. Conditional reasoning is the implication of any deductive method, right? If we're not making assertions, that would be absolutely dogmatic.
That's the universal operator, right?
Yeah, I suppose, like, if I just said the sun is hot, there's no if there. I didn't have to say, right? But it's not really an argument. It's just like a universal, which people would say it's a fact or it's a truth. The sun is hot. Obviously there's a conditional implied. We have to check our terms. If we don't know what the term sun is and what the term hot means, then that means nothing. So the conditional is still implied in the universal instantiation, like the sun is hot. That's at least the argument I would make. Because at the end of the day, these are symbols. This is symbology we're working in. We're trying to connect objectivity in the real world with our symbology, and that's a obvious tension, right? The objects in the real world aren't symbols. We're connecting our symbols to them, and so that's, again, I think, a reflective meditation that allows you to relax on your assumptions. Like, I don't need to put forward my thoughts in a way that are dogmatic and hurtful to my own psychology and others. I can put it forward in a way that is actually quite vulnerable and ignorant at the same time. I don't mind sounding ignorant, right? I'm putting forward as a scientist, I want to put forward my assumptions, like, humbly and highlight them.
So I would say you're actually expounding upon first order logic into like third order, like into possibilities, right?
Yes, like a bit of modal logic, yes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people on here, they get so bogged down into classical logic and Aristotelian logic, and they don't open up to that fact that we need that humility, and we need to experience the if, the possibilities.
You're nailing it. Yep. Yeah, modal logic in that sense really does hit those semantics on the head, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Contingency and necessity and possible worlds, yes. And the humility demanded from that.
Going into deontics and stuff like that. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, deontology, yes.
Yep.
Yes. So, fascinating, man. Again, I'm so appreciative of people who are receptive to these ideas. You're a rare breed, sir.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you too. Oh, dude, I wanted to talk to you about crypto.
Would love to.
Would you like to? Would you like to deviate the conversation?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we'll circle back in one way or another.
Yeah, we can circle back to logic.
They're all related.
Exactly. So, what are your thoughts on the current market trends? So, for me, I just made 125%.
Awesome. In crypto.
In my crypto, yeah.
What did you have, like, multiple coins? Or were you just holding one?
I was holding 2 coins, or 3 coins. I was holding some of Bitcoin, Shibu, and Dogecoin.
Yep. Okay. And did you sell everything now?
I sold a small portion, and I kept some, and then I'm gonna be buying in more.
Okay. So, have you looked into it all? How long have you been in the space? How long have you been doing this for? Like, interested in crypto?
I've been in crypto for like 2 years now.
Okay. So you're definitely in it then. You're curious enough to hold it down, and you've seen some changes in the trends, and you've seen, consolidation in the market versus volatility. So have you looked at like are you interested in technical analysis at all and like charting and looking at charts?
Man, honestly, I've been kind of wanting to get into technical analysis and doing like more day trading type of things, but I've been a little bit scared, you know?
Yeah, well, that's fair. But so would you say that like you don't know much about how to read a chart? You haven't really looked into it that much.
No,
Okay.
I actually have studied charts and things like that, and options and candlesticks and
Oh, okay. So you do know
depth.
some stuff then.
Yes, I've studied. I actually have a degree in finance, so
Oh, what?
yeah,
Okay. This is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Sick.
I had to learn about like all those types of things, like puts and calls, everything.
So that's interesting to come from that background into crypto.
Yeah, um, yeah. So I landed in crypto because my wife, she kind of, man, I wish she would have shown me earlier, by the way. But she kind of prompted me to this idea, and I've been seeing like just these gains. Like, have you analyzed any of the cryptos?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like daily pretty obsessed with it. I'm
So
five
like,
years deep.
yeah. So you've seen the recent jump
Oh
from
yeah.
the election, right?
Yeah.
And people speculating that it's alt season.
It is alt season for sure. Yeah.
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 So man,
So,
I wish.
okay. So, like, the reason technical analysis for me is so interesting in a space like crypto is
Mhm.
because I think that the data provides a lot more, well, analytical opportunities than something like traditional stock market. Even though the volatility is greater, in depending on which like asset you're using, the
Yeah.
data is really good and
Mhm.
dependable. So that's the first interesting part. If I look at the price data, it's 24/7 and it's also really reliable data. The data is directly tethered to like a network, right? A blockchain network or
Yep.
some sort of, yeah. So like this is what make me interested in analyzing the data, right? If I'm analyzing the data of fiat, like let's say foreign exchange currency,
Mhm.
well, like I don't appreciate the methods of inflation or how they regulate the supply of those currencies, or how really the instability of a nation's like policies could be detrimental to a current. Like, there's so many risks, right,
Yeah.
associated with those data
A lot
points
of
that,
variables.
yeah, and it's not really transparent either, because the system of value isn't really accounting for like anything tangible. Like, I don't know what the value of the dollar actually is.
Hmm.
It's really hard for me to calculate. So, going back to that's kind of why I think technical analysis for me, I've made these own conclusions on my own,
Yeah.
applies more interestingly to something like Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Um, Now, when it comes to, I don't know how familiar you are with charts like Bitcoin dominance, or like how to chart. For instance, I can chart Bitcoin against Ethereum. I could chart Bitcoin against Doge. Are you familiar with that?
What site do you use for that?
Okay, the base site to be familiar with is called TradingView. It's free, and
Okay.
it's not an exchange. It's just a plotting. It's a charting platform. So you can chart anything: foreign exchange currencies, gold, silver, stocks.
Mhm.
You can chart crypto. So it's a charting program that's free that allows you. It's the most in-depth charting platform that most exchanges. So when I go to BitGet, which is one of the exchanges I use, well, it uses TradingView as its charting. So like often these exchanges will like chart when you look at the prices. It's just importing TradingView's data.
Huh. I
And
just
so,
made an account.
sick. There you go. There you go. So when you go to the charts, you can pick anything you want, but more importantly, you could chart. Think about it this way: to chart something, you need two inputs, right? A denominator, right, and a numerator. And well, you don't have to use dollars. Everyone charts everything against the US dollar. But if you're interested in altcoins, which you should be looking at, is charting Bitcoin against Doge so that you can actually see how Doge is performing next to Bitcoin, not next to the dollar.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the other thing I would say is like all of your strategies, like my opinion on the market, well, that's going to depend very heavily on my time preference, right? Obviously. So when you talked about day trading or like a long-term hold, all these are going to have very different market analytics, right? I can go to it's a whole different chart on the daily time frame to the 1 minute time frame to the monthly time frame. These are all massively different time preferences that up to you and your own risk tolerance and your own lifestyle and what you want to do is going to be relevant to you and your decision making. My decision making is going to be entirely different. And not to mention, I don't know if you're familiar, you know how to short things, right? Because you're familiar with options. So that being familiar with that just makes you realize that really the direction of the market doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, at all. You can make money when it goes down or up.
That's right. And if you know how to use leverage, the volatility doesn't even mean much.
Yep. Yeah.
So the options and opportunities are endless. There's no reason to FOMO into anything. This is a massive, to relate it back to logic, this is a massive emotional course in psychology and how to regulate your own discipline, decision-making, and rationality. That's what this actually ultimately is. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme, right? Although it can be.
Yeah, for instance, my assets, right? They lost 30% over this year, cumulatively, but I held, right, and now they've literally jumped about 250%.
Exactly. That's amazing. That's amazing, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people be scared when they see that 30% loss, right?
Most would.
Say you have $1 million, right? That's $300,000 loss.
Yeah, massive.
Oh,
but that's why you could have insurance plans in place with like shorts to prevent total losses and at least cover certain fees and those kinds of things. Like as you're holding contracts, you might be paying a certain fee or whatever.
Certain stop losses and stuff like that.
Exactly. So like one of my experiences was initially, this would have been 5 years ago. I think it would have been around 2018. I played a crypto video game that yielded me originally like about $1,000. So I had about $1,000 to play with in the crypto market. I had to learn how to shift it out of the game into a wallet, etc. And then I was like, well, I could just cash this out, or it started me down this trail of like, wow, there's all these. Because one day I made like $50 from the game, and then the coin jumped. The coin that I was holding in the game jumped, and it was worth like 300. That 50 that I had just made, and I was like, oh, I could reinvest this and find other opportunities, and that's what kind of sent me down the trail, the wormhole. That original portfolio would show like near $10,000 of losses. But the way I looked at it is like, dude, that was all generated from $1,000. Yes, my account shows a loss of 10 grand, but if I'm only positive, let's say I'm positive 2 grand right now, I'm still double the money that I haven't even invested any, because this is all from a video game. And to turn 1,000 into 2 is great. And yes, most people see that as like, oh, $8,000-9,000 loss. It's like, but bro, I was learning, and that was all. Look at that as the money I generated. I generated over $10,000 of potential gains. Like that's an amazing, even if it's not realized fully, that's still an amazing achievement that I'm very proud of, and it just motivates me more to do it again in the future.
Yep. Yeah, totally. I see what you're saying. So, are you a long-term trader, or do you do short trades?
Well, this is where we get into the emotion, bro. What I am is undisciplined. I'm at the phase of learning about how to harness my immaturity, my discipline, I'm not good enough to be a long-term I don't have enough money, I don't work hard enough, and I'm not patient enough. Like literally, I'm technically good enough to see the massive opportunities I could involve myself in. I'm literally
Mm-hmm.
missing them simply because I'm not calm enough. I have my own life going on. I procrastinate, so I have to learn basically how to be a better man in order to
Mm-hmm.
really focus myself and realize like long term gains. For now, they're very short term, and I would say leaning on degeneracy. But I'm
Yeah.
so experimental with it, and I'm so curious and like enamored by the space. It's hard for me not to be like spread thin and like overly, like yeah, a bit ADHD with my learning. But again, the space is just so fascinating, and I haven't been in this space long enough. Like my parents are not entrepreneurs, and they're not very like capitalist minded. So this is all new, like culturally, politically, technically, educationally. There's so many facets to it that like 5 years is just not quite enough for me to be fully, I guess, who I need to be. I'm jealous of those who figure it out in a couple of years and can really do it.
Yeah, I hear you. So I think eventually you'll get to a place where you'll have long-term assets and you could do short-term trades with options like Iron Condor. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay, so an Iron Condor, it basically makes it so you mitigate any risk, any losses. So you'll put, I believe, what was it? Four different options, and two of them are going to be below the strike price. Two will be above the strike price, and because of that, it's going
You're
to
you're delta neutral. You have no risk exposure, basically.
exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so and people are doing this constantly and they're making so
Yes.
much money off of every trend.
Yes. That's how the volatility works towards your favor. I haven't quite figured out technically how to. Well, again, this might be a patience and emotional thing more than anything, but I haven't quite figured out how to mitigate like quote unquote black swans or an event of trend shift while realizing those gains. You really have to find the pocket of a like what's the word I'm looking for? A ranging market, and then play off that consolidation. But as soon as there's a trend shift, you have to close those positions so that yeah you don't get
Yeah.
exposed. Yeah.
So like right now, I wish I could see. Let me see. I'm gonna bring up a market, Bitcoin. Let's see.
See, I really wish I could do like a screen share while I'm on the panel with you guys, but I have to go into like the mobile gaming part of TikTok live in order to show my screen, and then I can't have you on the panel, which is like, because I really would love to go over charts and stuff like during this live, but all I can do is pull up screenshots. I can't like actively do anything.
Okay, I have a computer here, and so you could set different. Let's see. For technical analysis, like you could set different lines, right? What do you call it? The stochastic lines.
Okay, stochastics, sure.
Yeah, yeah,
There's tons of different ones like moving averages, yeah, stochastic volume.
yeah. So you set different points to see where like it's where the market's headed, right? And if
Right.
it's going to continue in that trend. Right now, like Bitcoin, let me see here. I mean, it's looking like maybe it's in a consolidation.
Yeah, it's going to range for a bit, I would say. It's going to consolidate in between. I don't know. Well, I haven't looked at it, but it went up all the way to 93, right? Somewhere between 85 and 93, probably, right? Maybe it'll drop a little lower, but yeah, like over the period of November here, we could see a couple more shots up closer to 100, but I wouldn't be surprised if 100 took a while to get to and we consolidate at this point for a bit.
Yeah, and it looked like it tested around 88,000, the floor. like it was seeing. You know what I mean?
Did you see? Look up. Well, if you don't have to, but there's one called Peanut. Literally, how it sounds like the letter P and then NUNT. Yesterday was at 500%
Oh, peanut.
in one day.
Oh wow. I've been on Robinhood. Do you know
Oh,
that?
yeah. You know what, man? A while ago, when I was first on this journey, I looked at Robinhood, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, I don't have access to it as a Canadian.
Oh man, dude, Robinhood's actually good. They just got on Pepe.
Yeah, see, yeah, it's BitGet is the one I use, and it has Pepe. It has like all the coins, so at least I have access to that one. I've had a couple, like I used to use Bybit. I used to use a couple other ones that I can't use in Canada anymore. They change the regulations all the time, so I'm having to like leap around different exchanges. It sucks. But the
That's
one I'm
crazy.
on now is pretty good.
Wow, that's crazy.
I think Pepe was doing close to 100% yesterday. It was like at 80% or something, right?
Yeah, Pepe was doing some crazy stuff. Let me see here. Yeah, from the 13th to now. Yeah, it had some pretty big gains. Let's see.
So there's so many cool on TradingView, man. There are so many unlimited usages of it. You can look at the source. Oops, sorry. You can look at the source code of every indicator. So if you pull up a moving average as an indicator on TradingView, it'll plot the line, but then you can click on the source code and it'll show you how someone's coded it in PineScript to actually plot that line. And so that's available for every indicator. If I use a stochastic, I can look how someone coded it. I could look up different stochastics and look up the different math used, exactly how it's used. There's also a strategy backtester and a strategy maker, basically. So you can look up
Yeah.
moving average strategy, see how it's back tested over a certain time frame, how it performed, and its code and everything. That's all for free. And there's so many cool indicators like the Ichimoku cloud. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Or like using fib retracements is pretty cool, like
Oh yeah,
Fibonacci.
Fibonacci. Yep.
Are you familiar
Retracements.
with the Ichimoku cloud?
No,
Dude,
not. What is that?
I'm just fascinated with like the history of economics and stuff. So this is just a bit nerdy, but it's like an old Asian guy, Chinese guy, that designed this like cloud mathematics basically. It's like it has a leading indicator and a trailing indicator and everything. And this whole like cloud formation that the price like operates within and out of. It's really cool. Just the
Oh,
history of it's
would
cool.
that be like a Japanese candlestick model?
No, he's used. No, he's designed like an indicator. Back in
Oh,
the day,
really?
he used candlestick. He did use candlestick formations, but he applied his own technical analysis to design
Oh,
like this
wow.
indicator that people still use today, and you can plot on top of Bitcoin or anything. And it's just like a leading indicator for day trading, basically, or
Is that on
long-term trading.
Trading
Yeah,
View?
yeah. It's spelled like Ichi, like EICHI Moku, Ichimoku cloud,
Ichi.
MOKU, I think. So ICHIMOKU. I think that's it. Ichimoku.
Where would I search for that?
Okay, so you're on TradingView right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so first go to the charts. Are you in like a charting page?
Yeah, I'm in the charting page.
So open up a commodity you care about, Bitcoin or gold or something.
Okay.
So do you have a chart there with candlesticks in front of you?
Yeah.
Now, at the top of the chart itself, there should be a little icon. I don't have the computer in front of me, but
Oh.
if you hover your mouse over top of it, it will say indicators. You should be able to hover your mouse over the little icons, and one of them will be like a graph icon, or maybe like a pen, and it should be like a graph icon, something like that,
Mm,
and it should say indicators.
might be a little different, I think, for the computer.
I can
I
I'll
see
look it
chart.
up.
Is that
I
chart
can-
settings?
I can go to my computer here for a second.
Chart settings. Then we got search tool or function.
That's close. Yeah, function. Go to function.
Okay, and
Just-
type in.
Does that open up like a search menu?
Oh, This might actually do it. Yeah. How do you spell it?
So I think Moku, I think.
ICHI. It says nothing matches my criteria.
Huh. Okay, I'm hopping on my computer here. Just one sec.
Maybe it's over here.
When the thing you opened up, it should have like a thing that says indicators. So that might not be what you opened up. Like look for the word indicator somewhere.
Yeah, I see Pine Editor, stock
That's
screener.
that Pine editor is the coding script. That's the where you can see the actual coding.
Okay. Oscillators, margins. Would this be the indicators?
Doesn't say indicator. Say function. Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I think I see it.
Is it there? Is there an icon that says?
Ichibo. Yep, I found it.
Yeah.
There we go.
So what commodity are you looking at?
Right now, I was just in Pepe.
Okay, Pepe. So yeah, it'd be funny to put that Ichimoku cloud on that. I think the daily is the best it performs on, but it all depends on how you interpret the cloud and stuff. But does it show a green and a red sort of cloud formation now on the price?
Oh, it wants me to do 30-day free trial.
Okay, you shouldn't have to do that to imply you should be able to either exit that. If it doesn't come up on the chart, then what it means is you already have some as a free trial, you're limited, I think, to like 2 or 3 indicators. So if the chart already has like a moving average or something on it, you're gonna have to close that in order to open the Ichimoku.
Oh, okay.
So on the chart, in the top left on the chart, there'll be a little color that is coordinated with the color of the line that it's associated with. What does it show? MA, moving average, probably, right?
Let's see.
Maybe EMA, exponential moving average. Are there other lines on the price other than just the candlesticks? Here, you can pull up your video.
Actually, wait. I think it did apply the Ichimoku.
You can see like a red and green cloud on the price. You might have to zoom out. You might have to like zoom out, or choose a different time frame. You might be on a like shorter time frame. The time. Can you see the time frame you're on?
Yeah, I'm on. I think daily.
Okay, and can you see the chart fairly like decently? You can see like you're zoomed out enough that you can see it.
Yeah, should I be seeing like clouds?
Yeah, you should see a cloud on there. Yeah.
Bang. No, it says Ichimoku though.
I'm sorry this is taking so long. I can directly show you here on my computer once I get it open.
Oh, for me, it's just a green line, not clouds. How do I make it clouds?
Yeah, it should be a cloud. Maybe were there several when you searched Ichimoku? Was there several different options? Maybe you potentially chose one that wasn't. I don't know. There could be several different options. Okay. So I'm gonna open up my. Here, I should be able to do this now.
Ichimoku cloud.
Yeah.
For me, it just gives green lines. Wow.
Okay, so I'm here. I go to charts. This is the same home screen you got to, right?
Yeah.
My computer's hella slow right now. Okay, so see right here it says indicators.
Yep.
So
I got the indicators there.
yeah, so Ichimoku Cloud, the first one that comes up.
Yeah. Let me see.
It's gonna do this. It's gonna say the same thing. I'm not signed in.
Did it add the
So
cloud?
so see what I had to know, because what I have to do here, since I'm on the free
Free one?
yeah, the free one, there's volume. So this chart at the bottom is volume.
Yeah.
Up
Delete
up
it?
here up here at the top it shows it, and yeah, and you have to delete it.
Alright, I deleted that.
Now it should work. I thought you could put more than one indicator. Maybe it's changed. Let's see if that works now. What the hell? Oh, is it join for free? You want me to sign in? Did that work for you?
Um, it shows the Ichimoku and it just shows a green line. No, it doesn't show a cloud, but
What the hell? Do you want to pull your
yeah, you want me to show you?
let's see what happens now that I'm signed in. This okay, yeah, mine worked right away. This is what it should look like. Is that what it looks like? Can you hear me? So bad on the screen. Which settings, Rasul, do you want me to adjust? Adjust the settings of the Ichimoku cloud or the screen or in TikTok?
Oh, hey, I'm back.
Okay, sick. Yeah,
Okay.
this is what it should look like.
Oh, yeah. It looks like that.
Fuck, I got a call. I didn't hear you. Sorry. It does?
Yeah, it
It
looks.
looks
Yep. Yeah.
sick. Yeah,
So,
so you'd have to watch a few videos. I mean, you could go a whole lifetime learning about this. You'd have to watch a few videos on how to interpret all the different lines, but let's just hide this. Oh, why do I have two? This is weird. That was weird. I had two on there. I'm just gonna hide it for a second so you can see like all the different
yeah.
lines it's putting on there. It's putting a lot, right? So
Mhm.
to be able to interpret what each line means, how this crossover can be interpreted with the middle line and the top green line and everything. But again, I'm not saying this is like the best indicator or whatever. I just love the history. I just love how the story of this and how cool it looks on the page and everything. It's just a cool
Yeah.
history lesson in technical analysis, I guess.
Yeah. And what does this indicator tell us? Do you?
Well, apparently I've been trying to do a little more research on it. There's one guy on YouTube who's like an expert in it. Has several books on specifically the Ichimoku cloud. But I think most people applying it to crypto, I haven't seen many people. But I am trying to learn more about how to interpret it and stuff. It has a leading indicator, so there's something to do with like if you were to design a strategy around this. Obviously, there's several requirements in order for a trade to happen. One of them being, like, for instance, the price can't be inside of the cloud. Like, for instance, over here where it is inside. If you're going to take a long, then the price has to be above the cloud. I'm pretty sure this red moving average has to be above the purple moving average, and the green cloud has to be present or something like that, and then you can enter a trade, and then you can manage your risk something like off the green line.
Okay.
So as it comes back, we see the flush up here, and then as it comes back and touches the green line, I think you can moderate your risk, something like that, off of it. And then, yeah, once it enters back into the consolidation period, into the cloud, that's like suggesting consolidation, something like that. But I mean, this is just the first chart I pulled up. This is NASDAQ too, so probably plays pretty well on the daily. But yeah, again, just fascinating history lesson. So this, if I wanted to look up here the code, if I hover over Ichimoku and I look at this, if I click this source code,
Okay.
this is going to show me in Pine script. It should all of the code of how this Ichimoku cloud works. and then I could go to a strategy tester, and
Can you click that again real quick?
yeah, for sure. Wait, what do you want me to show you? That where I clicked it up here?
Yeah.
It's right beside the trash right here, source code.
Oh, there we go.
Not all of them will have that available because some of them will be paid. So if I design my own indicator and I upload it to TradingView, I can have like a paid subscription, which won't allow anyone to access the source code, but a lot of them do just have it. And you can go in here if you really want to, and you can play with the settings and stuff. Sometimes it is fun to do that with basic moving averages and stuff, just to see how, rather than, okay, like for instance, let's put on a moving average. And I'm going to get rid of the Ichimoku, or I'll just hide it. I don't know why I don't have it. Whoa. So yeah, you can play with like all the different settings, like how everything looks.
Yeah.
You can you can really customize the chart to everything that you want.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at all these buttons and stuff. It's really cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
there's a lot. There's
Lots of
definitely
different
a lot.
indicators. Lots of different. Wow. What's this? Lots of different. Oh, patterns. Elliott waves, cycles, projections. Ooh. Okay.
My computer's bugging out. Cool. Anyways, you can play around. Like if I wanted to change the settings of any of these moving average or anything, you can do it through the inputs up here, but you could also do it through the source code. Like,
the code.
you know, they make it easy to do up here, but also, yeah, I mean, for the ones that you understand how to do, it's fun to go look at the code and see how, because I wish I knew more about coding too. It'd be fun to be able to, because to be able to back test your own strategies, you do kind of need to have your own, like this is a strategy tester here, which you can find strategies like in the indicator here. If I type in strategy,
Yeah, I'm looking at the code. It has conversion periods, base periods, lagging span, 2 periods, displacement.
yeah, there you go.
So
you can change all those inputs.
yeah, so you change those inputs right there.
Yeah.
And I love how the inputs are they're orange.
Right. Totally.
My eyes can go right to them.
So if I type in here in the indicators, you can it's indicators, metrics, and strategies, right? So I could pull up a strategy.
Okay.
So now this is actually plotting like buy and sell signals that someone's coded in, and I can look at the strategy tester here and how the performance of this particular strategy did.
Ooh.
With a particular drawdown, and whether you could change all these parameters too, right? Like this started at 31,000, but you could put whatever you want in, etc.
Which strategy are you putting on there?
This is the first just one that I searched was RSI strategy, and this is on Bitcoin. But it's just cool to see again. So you could go to Pine Editor, see how they've actually coded that strategy in, right?
Oh.
This is the strategy code, and then you can back test whatever strategy. So if you got really good at playing around with these inputs, you could really do a proficient job at back testing any strategy across any history, right? Like you could really get into the weeds of playing with strategies and back testing them efficiently, because back testing is the most time consuming part. If I could run, let's see here. So this, this just closed a total of 24, but that of 24 trades, but that could be because, see, you can see every trade it made. But like if I wanted, maybe it has a limited, like it only took 24 trades because it has a very limited parameters, right? If I wanted to open up the parameters a little looser, maybe it would take 50 trades. Like, so yeah, I don't know. lots of cool stuff on here, and the fact that you do not have to use any. You can use whatever freaking thing you want. When people are so belligerent, they're like, "Oh, Bitcoin, crypto." It's like you guys don't understand that this is a whole list of shit, right? Like, what are you talking about? Just crypto? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much potential. Like, it's not just crypto. It's just learning how technical analysis works.
Yeah. Man, I love this. This is so cool.
Very cool. Very time consuming. At the end of the day, so you could put on any indicator. A lot of it's noise, right? A simple moving average will do a lot. So this is a perplexing space, but ultimately, I think these tools just give you the freedom to draw what the graphs and plot what you want with the style you want, and that's fun more than anything.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at the code for the parabolic SAR strategy.
Cool. Do you want to? I can make you big screen if you want to show it or whatever. No pressure.
Oh, I can't go on big string because I only have 14 followers on this account.
Oh, okay. Word.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. This kind of shows here my like buys and sell entry lately. I guess this is from it's funny, a few days ago, which it was 75 grand. That's so funny that was only a few days ago. Oh my god. But yeah, kind of shows how in a way the delta neutral approach was basically what I was going with here, but I was doing it from just a buy low sell high perspective. I didn't have an actual position long and I literally just experimented in reacting to the market. So when the price went down, I bought, and when the price went up, I sold, and it worked pretty well. Like you can see, it did work pretty well.
Was that for Bitcoin?
Yeah. So, but like, I would have missed between 75 and about 85K. I was out of the market.
Okay.
You know, once the price moved out, like this was my whole few day sort of trades, and then I exited the market for a couple days. And so, yeah. So I mean, depending on each strategy, you can't really capture every move. You know what I'm saying? Like at a certain point, you got to relax and take your time off. And also, I think it's just good for like. Well, maybe it's better for the brain to always be exposed to the market, but for me personally, I tend to like only be exposed to the market when I'm awake and when I'm like ready to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't usually leave any positions overnight at this point.
Man, the market's been pretty crazy. I like it though.
I love it. It's the feeling of like yesterday was a pretty neutral day for me. I was like up a couple $100 and then down a couple $100. Started to get really greedy at the end of the day, but like the manic states you get in, I know they're like kind of bad, but like it's so true that you're richer than you think and you're closer to wealth than you think. Like making 100 grand is so possible over a couple months if you really put your mind to it. Like this space actually allows you to turn $1,000 into 100 grand. It's rare, it's hard, right? Everyone thinks that it's like, oh, moon boy, et cetera, et cetera. But if you know, it's like this is the only real way to get, I think, like actual wealth. You know, is to understand these metrics. Unless you're like there's a limit really to scaling like a business or scaling like most things aren't really scalable, but this is scalable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one point I like to make is, and not to bring it into another topic, but I like to trust God with the moves I make. You know, I say, God, I'm going to do this, and I trust you. You know?
Okay. Great point about that. I think God protects me because I'm never going to be vulnerable to a forecaster or a predictor. I'm never going to be vulnerable to someone, I don't know, a fraud trying to convince me that, oh, they can guarantee me some return on the market.
Yep.
I'm always going to be protected with doubt and skepticism of everyone. And that protection is also from this. I don't ever predict or speculate on the market in the way that I'm trying to forecast. it's more a risk management strategy. I'm just exposing myself to opportunities while preventing myself to exposure to risk. That's all it is. I'm not
Yep.
trying to predict anything or holier than thou. Like, I know what the direction of the market, and I know everyone. I can get everyone rich. Like, it's not like that. It's way more of, again, it's like a strategy for risk management.
Yeah, I hear you. On that note, I have to go get lunch with my wife. But
Dude,
been a great
this has been
conversation.
such a good conversation. Please come back and we'll talk technical analysis anytime. Send me any, if you come across a cool indicator or cool video in your education, DM me. I would love to see what you're thinking about
Totally,
anytime.
brother. Yeah, this is cool. I love
So
it, man.
cool.
You have a
Okay.
blessed day, okay?
You too. God bless you. Much love.
Much love, brother. Take care.
Peace. Another amazing conversation. 2 in a row. 3 in a row. Oh, today's amazing. Wow. TikTok's coming with their best. Look at that. TikTok is coming with their best. If anyone is in the chat that is interested in any of the ideas that were discussed or have their own ideas they'd want to discuss, I would encourage you to request to come up into the panel. I'll change this monotonous background to something a little more digestible for the eye. And yeah, it'd be cool to keep this conversation going. If you have any questions, I'm happy to ask or answer. If you have any, ideas or opinions, I'd love to hear them. We don't have to talk technical analysis. You can really talk about anything. I'm going to put the music back on here for a bit until I get someone else in the panel. I hope that conversation wasn't boring, or I hope that it was somewhat, useful. If you, find any of these topics interesting, DM me with any questions you have. I'm always willing to discuss this stuff. I love it. And the more people I can sort of, pick their brains, teach, learn from, all those things, the more I'm going to get better at this. So I'm more than happy to share what I've learned, and I'm more than happy to listen, to pushback or criticism or questions. It's turning out to be actually quite a nice day today. It was raining this morning, but it's now blue skies. The ground is still wet, but for a mid-November day, not bad in Vancouver. I'm gonna head out here eventually and pump out some deliveries on my bike and go ride. But I would like to have maybe one more conversation. I'm not in a rush. I just had the worst wave of feeling like I'm forgetting something really important. I feel like I gotta do something today that I've forgotten. This is weird. I never had this feeling. Like I've run through my checklist. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but I have a feeling I am. What am I forgetting today? Hell yeah, Darth. Thanks, man. It's a hit or miss, because then you get to this song next. The flute. It's alright. A little annoying. The playlists are... Oh, I'm glad you called that. The playlists are just such a hit or miss. I wonder if I played along with this, if my mic wouldn't be too delayed. Like, is there too much? Oh, this song's sick. Is there too much delay between the song and my tap pad if I play along? Does that sound like shit? Darth, for real? Jazz improv software? That was your undergrad thesis. Like improvised music, computer generated. That's so sick. Under a super famous AI guy. I wish I could set this up in a way. Let's see here. I don't know if I can. Okay, the only problem here is I think that there might be too much delay in my headphone mic. You guys tell me if this sounds good. Is that on beat? Or does it sound weird? Does it sound delayed so that you can't like hear the drums? It sounds on beat? No way. Sick. What are you using to get the music into it? A mixer? It's the TikTok radio. Under enhance, when I go live, there's like a music section. This is just in TikTok. This is the music. I'm surprised that it's picking up the drums decently. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a hit or miss playlist. Like I don't really know what's coming next. Some of the music is good, some of it's not. See what else we got. Can't really hear this one. It's like really quiet. So we got that. What else we got there? That's hard to hit. Wow. Okay. Missed it. Wow. That's sick. Yeah. That was sick. That was a dope little groove. Ooh. Okay, that's that one. Stop. Latin groove? Maybe. This is gonna be cool, I think. was sick. The Latin. Gang. I hope that there's not too much distance between the sound I'm making and the headphones. Is there a delay so that everything's off beat? Because that would be absolutely detrimental. Does it sound on beat, Paichi? Or do you think that there's a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Silence? No. What's the word I'm looking for? Distance between the sound. The delay. Not the delay though. What's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't sound delay? Sick. Let's jump to this. Okay. Alright. Yeah. Oh, that's all we got. I was sorry to jam that for a while. Okay. I don't know about that. Okay. Wow, cut short again. I was like just kind of catching it. See what else we got now. Try. You know what I need to do? Turn the music up a bit in here. There we go. That's gonna be better.
was a bit of a groove for a sec.
Maybe let's try another genre. What's this gonna be like?
Thanks, Pete.
Well, my phone is close to dying, so I need to plug it in. So I cannot do the music anymore. Let's change it back to this. And let's change it to this so I can plug in my phone. Back to conversations and debate, maybe. Slash, I'm gonna leave soon. Let's see what I can do here, buddy. Hi. Hi. Alright. There we go. There, turn it up a bit. Okay, someone come talk to me. Someone come talk to me. Let's have a conversation about stuff. Peak. You say about technical analysis. I used tech analysis against itself / against capitalism. And I appreciate learning about others' perspectives, so hopefully someone will come talk about it. Yeah. Generally, I define capitalism as just open free trade. So things like profit and greed and all those human conditions aren't necessarily fixed by capitalism. But I feel like capitalism incentivizes cooperation the best and incentivizes greedy people to cooperate, basically. So it leverages people's greed to hopefully make them cooperate. That's the idea. But I know it goes awry. But generally, I don't like big government. I don't like regulations. I don't trust politicians. And I trust the greed and self-preservation of individuals in the market more. Self-interested individuals I can get down with. What I can't get down with is hiding behind corporate entities and regulatory bodies. So that's why I side with capitalism generally. No, you're not raining on my topic at all. You're the only one engaging with me. You said here, I don't want to rain. Oops. I don't want to rain on your topic. I'm anti-capitalism, even open free trade. Are you libertarian? Not trying to box you in, just getting a better idea where you align. Yeah. I guess I'm hesitant to label myself libertarian, but I do believe in free will libertarian, I guess. I believe in the sovereign individual. If I look at the history of money, I find that really interesting. How money emerges out of trade and barter systems. I don't see fiat currency as part of capitalism. So I think money is part of capitalism, but not fiat currency, like a centralized federal bank. How do you feel about library economics and mutual aid, symbiotic governance? Probably mean libertarian economics, mutual aid. I think basically I like it, but I think the best system for wealth distribution is going to be the incentives of the market. So